Hey YouTube, and welcome to Vegas Scents. And my name is Jamar. This is going to be the first video that I'm going to make here today. And it's a video that I guess other people have sort of made in similar ways, but I don't think I've seen anybody do a comparison video yet between Club de Nuit Intense Man, Alexandria Fragrances Brasilia, and the actual Creed Aventus. So what I want to do is I want to compare the real thing with what I think to be, the best Creed Aventus clones or copies or inspirations, whatever you want to call them. So what I'll start off with is going to be the first one that I bought, and it's this one, Armand's Club de Nuit Intense Man. I actually have recently put a flashlight to this bottle because that's really the only way that you can check the juice level on these bottles. And I believe I'm about halfway through this bottle, so I've definitely used this one a lot. And I still think that it's a really good fragrance. Now, obviously, the issue with this particular fragrance is when you initially spray it on, it's very strong and it's very lemony. It almost sort of smells like, I would say like a citrus scented cleaner or whatnot. And let me just spray it just so I can kind of get an idea again of how it smells. And yeah, the best way for me to describe how it smells just off of the initial blast is if you've ever bit into like a lemon head, and I'm talking about before, and I know this is a weird example, but if you've ever bitten into a lemon head before you've gotten down to, I guess, the point where you don't have any of the stuff around it or whatever, if you like bite into it, you kind of get like this lemony taste and smell that almost kind of gets into your nose. That's really what this smells like initially. So it doesn't smell anything like, I would say, the initial spray from Creed Aventus or even from Alexandria Fragrances. I have also owned Al Haramain's LaVenture, and that definitely smells just like the opening spray to Creed Aventus, and also just like the Alexandria fragrance as well. The only issue that I had with that particular fragrance was, even though it smelled just like the batch of Creed Aventus that I have, it only lasted for maybe 4 or 5 hours, and to me, it just wasn't worth wearing the fragrance if it only lasted for 4 to 5 hours. And this lemon smell that you get with Creed Aventus, it does last, I think, at least about, 10 to 20 minutes, because I'm still smelling it now, but I am starting to smell like some of the musk kind of coming in, maybe a little bit of the apple. But yeah, it definitely, you start to smell the musk and like the apple coming in. I really don't get the pineapple so much. Just more so like lemon, apple, musk. So this was I actually got a sample of Creed Aventus around the same time that I got my Al Haramain LaVenture. And I really wanted to know, what does Creed Aventus actually smell like? Like, what does the real thing smell like? And when I sprayed this on skin and then sprayed it next to Al Haramain's LaVenture, one of the main things that I noticed was Al Haramain LaVenture smelled really just like this, except didn't smell as smooth. So it definitely smelled a little bit more synthetic, just a tad bit more like alcohol-y, or alcoholic, whatever you want to say. That was the main thing that I noticed. And it smelled slightly stronger than this. You know, this definitely smelled a little bit more softer, more smoother. I guess, you know, you could say more natural. So I'm gonna spray the Creed Aventus on this arm here. Okay. And just from the initial blast, you smell the citrus and you smell the pineapple. This one here, it still doesn't really smell like Creed Aventus. And I mean, I sprayed Club de Nuit Intense on my hand here, at least about probably 5 minutes ago or more. And okay, so it's starting to smell a little bit more like Creed Aventus. Now with the Aventus, I'm already starting to smell like the vanilla in this. So I'm starting to smell the vanilla, the pineapple, the apple. This seems to be like a fruitier batch of Aventus, so it doesn't really have that much smokiness to it. Definitely not as much smoke as the Club de Nuit Intense Man. And I wouldn't even say it doesn't even have as much smoke as the Alexandria fragrance, Brasilia either. This one is just strictly like a fruity scent. But again, the issue with this particular batch of Creed Aventus, which I believe is 16L1, I believe is what it is. I don't get good longevity out of this at all. It will project, you know, especially when heat hits it. But I mean, it only lasts for maybe, I don't know, the first hour to hour and a half or so. And normally after about maybe 3 to 4 hours max, this is like completely gone off of my skin. So for a fragrance that costs almost $500, it's no way that, you know, I would be able to purchase this and feel happy with a purchase like that. You know, to me, this would have to last 12 plus hours for it to ever be worth that much money. So when I came across Alexandria fragrances, I saw that they did have several different, you know, Creed interpretations. The first one that I actually purchased was Hawaii Volcano, because I was a little bit sick of the different Creed Aventus clones, and I wanted to try something new and different. So I went ahead and got the Hawaii Volcano and was really impressed with that one. I really like that fragrance. But I bought this one along with Royal Equestrian and Greek Horse, which those other two are actually interpretations of two other Parfum de Marly's fragrances. But I said, you know, let me try another Aventus clone, and I'll spray it on me on my right hand here. And I mean, to my nose, I get lemon and pineapple just right off of the initial blast on this one. And in my opinion, it smells pretty similar to the actual Aventus on the initial opening blast, except this one just smells a little bit more stronger, but not in like an alcohol smelling type way. It just smells more intense. So I would say if you wanted to compare the Alexandria fragrances Brasilia to Creed Aventus, Alexandria's version of Aventus would be like Aventus Intense, okay? Because they smell pretty much the same. This just comes off as being a little bit more stronger, okay? So I would say this one definitely, it projects more, and this one would definitely have a better sillage. And just smelling these two side by side, the Aventus I can still smell on my skin, but it's very toned down. I would say it's much closer to my skin. This, the Alexandria fragrances, I would say it definitely is projecting a lot more, you know, a lot further out. It's a lot more defined, I would say, than the Aventus. Now, if I'm comparing the Alexandria fragrance, Brasilia, to the Armaf Club de Nuit Intense Man, Club de Nuit Intense Man is much smokier than the Alexandria fragrance. So this one is going to be a lot more fresher, I would say. The Alexandria fragrances, Brasilia, this is going to be a lot smokier, okay? Now, a lot of people that I've seen online have said that the Alexandria fragrance, Brasilia, it more so represents like a smokier batch of Aventus. I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, would I say that it's smokier than this 16L1 batch of Aventus that I have? Yeah, it is, but is it much smokier? No, not really. It's nowhere near as smoky as Club de Nuit Intense Man, not at all. And I see just recently they actually have made like a Brasilia Privé, which is supposed to be, I guess like even more fruitier batch, or like one of, you know, like the holy grail batch of Aventus that everybody seeks out. So yeah, just smelling this after a couple of minutes of it on my hand here, it is smoky, yeah, when compared to this version of Aventus that I have. But it's not a super smoky fragrance, I wouldn't say that, no. The Armaf is definitely a smoky fragrance. Now, if I'm gonna, I guess, give my opinion on which one of these I think that are the best, I would have to say the actual Aventus, this one right here, is the worst out of all three of these when it comes to performance, and really just when it comes to just overall smell. If I'm smelling this and comparing it to these two, this one loses, I'm sorry. You know, and especially when I look at how much this one costs. Now, whether or not I was looking at cost or not, this one would still lose in my opinion. But just the fact that I know how much this one costs and it performs worse than both of these, which are a fraction of the cost, doesn't really sit too well with me. So this one loses, Aventus loses. Now, if you want to get down to comparing the Alexandria fragrance with the Armaf, what I'll say is, if you want, I guess, a more authentic, you know, feel to the, Aventus DNA. Like if you want something that smells, the closest to Aventus, then you would want to go with the Alexandria fragrances Brasilia, because again, this smells just like the Aventus, except it's more defined. So when you smell it, the notes to me are more defined. Okay, yeah, that comes off just a tad bit smoother. Okay, but I feel like that particular fragrance, it doesn't, you don't get the projection that you get with this. Okay, and this doesn't smell stronger in a cheap way. Okay, because some fragrances can be stronger, but they're stronger because they have a more alcoholic smell. Okay, you don't get that with this one. Now, if you enjoy like the more smokier type smell of Aventus, then this one is a good choice too. This one is also, obviously the cheapest out of all of them. I believe you can get this on eBay for like around $25 to $30, and this is a 105 milliliter bottle. I mean, you can't really go wrong with that. The only thing with this fragrance is if you don't really like that lemon smell that you get on the initial blast with this fragrance, like if you can't get over that, then you probably won't enjoy this fragrance. But I've still gotten compliments with this fragrance, and once this fragrance actually dries down, which I would say you normally want to give this one at least about 30 to 45 minutes to sort of dry down. Once it happens, it smells just like, pretty much just like how this Alexandria fragrances Brasilia smells, and just like how Aventus smells, except again, this one, it does project a little bit more, and it's a little bit more smokier. Okay, so really it all comes down to preference. I've come to enjoy this one a little bit better. The smokiness in this one is cool, but again, this one is a little bit more fresher. So I wore this one a lot during the summertime and the hotter months, and I really enjoyed it during that time. I am gonna go back to trying this one out as well, because I paid for this bottle, so I definitely want to use it up. But I prefer the fresher, more authentic take on Aventus that this one gives. But again, you can't go wrong with this one either, not for the price. So I would say if you're just starting off in the fragrance community or purchasing fragrances, this is a great pickup for you. Especially if you're wanting to get something that smells like Creed Aventus, you could easily spray this on, and if somebody asks you what it was, you could easily tell them Creed Aventus. And I don't think most Aventus wearers, unless they were really experienced with the fragrance, would even know the difference, honestly. So that's my take on these three fragrances. Again, this one you can get for about $25 to $30 on eBay. This one in the 60 milliliter size goes for $59.99 on Alexandria's website. And the sample of Creed Aventus, I actually got this off of eBay from a really good seller called Pink Dot Deals. And I believe it's a lady. She sells a lot of popular fragrances in these little decant bottles. She sells them, a lot of them up to 30 milliliters as well. So definitely check that out if you're just looking for some decent sized samples. All right, and I will see y'all again in the next video.